Gina is in the house, right? Okay, I've started the recording again. We've had some logistical, technical things going on in the background, so it's in my ball to actually be doing all the recordings. So I'm just making sure the recording's happening, and this is all good. I'm going to hand you over in a second to Gina. Gina's going to be telling us all about Elman and healing, which is a fascinating subject in itself. You know that hypnosis is close to my heart. Most people know Gina. Gina does an enormous amount of work, both in front of and behind the scenes for Tad James Company, as well as for her own business itself. If you ask her what she does and what she does for work, she'll probably tell you that she doesn't work. And that's because she lives NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, and she just loves it. Why not? What you don't know is that Gina first met NLP in 2007, and she read a book that was stuck under her nose by her husband, and who's also an NLP master trainer. Yep, it's running in the family, and Gina loves high-level strategy and has become an authority, working on negotiation in the boardroom, where company directors love nothing more than a good debate. These days, Gina runs specialized wellness retreats by the beach. How lovely. Or in the mountains, both lovely. Loves hiking with her husband, taking long beach walks with the two dogs, who apparently also have roles in the coaching business, and growing organic food on the farm. What a wonderful life. Best part of my day is the early morning or early sunrise, where I do my breath work and walk around the farm with my hot tea, listening to the birds and the orchestra and checking out the trees. And she often puts a little post in our little chat zone, showing us just exactly how lovely it is. As lovely as Gina, in fact, who I hand over the table to. Gina, the floor's yours.
Thank you so much, Mark. And yes, actually today we were just out collecting some oranges off our trees and making delicious orange juice, you know, that really sweet, fresh juice that you can make from fresh oranges. So thank you, Mark. Look, I just wanted to follow on from what Billy was saying about the use of music with stroke victims, or stroke survivors, I should say. The first time I saw that was in 1997, where a lady that I knew had a major stroke, and she was a classical pianist. And amongst other therapies, in that first week, when she was still unconscious, we played a lot of music. And interestingly, when she came back to us, she said, you know, what I really remembered was the music. She said, I can visualize myself actually playing the piano. Isn't that interesting? Now, we've been sitting here such a long time listening to these brilliant presentations. And what I want to do is ask you, is it all right to just have a really big stretch? Go on, come on, stretch it right out. Just stretch right out. Stretch your back, stretch the arms. Oh, yes, I can feel it myself. Ah, that's right. That's it. Just move around a little bit. Perfect. I can see it all happening. Good job. Now, what I would like you to do is take a really lovely, big, deep breath in with me on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, in. And just let it all out. And relax. And one more in on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And let it all out. Ah, doesn't that feel good? Just put all that extra oxygen right into your body. Who feels more stretched and feels like that oxygen has gone into their bloodstream? Who feels like that? I don't know about you, but I do. That's it. Thank you so much. Now, this particular topic, why are we actually here today? Why are we at this conference? I've been hearing some interesting comments over the past couple of days about why you're here. And there's one common theme. And that theme is learning from each other. I've learned so much more, the presenters, and all I can say is thank you. And a big thank you to all of you for the questions you've been asking and the comments you've been making. So I have a question to ask you. Who in this audience is interested in finding out how you can improve your wellness with hypnosis? Who would like to find out more about how you can improve wellness through hypnosis? Thank you. Thank you for putting up your hand. Indeed. And who would like to know more about how you can use hypnosis to work with a specific part of your body? Who'd like to know that? You know, really get in to a particular part of your body. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much. By the way, who has worked with hypnosis to go in and work with a particular part of your body? Who has done that? Let me know. Marissa, you have? Norma, you have? And Coach B, who has? B, you have. Tell me, what did you do?
Well, I had severe migraines and low back pain for decades. And in just one session, it was gone. And allergy, nose
Amazing.
allergy as well.
Good job. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Norma, did you have your hand up? Yeah, she did. She's just
Okay.
going to unmute.
Yes,
Go for it.
I was typing it. Yes, so I have used it actually for tumor. I was told that I have a pituitary gland tumor. I use it to heal that. I use it for migraines, for lower back pain. I use it for headaches, lots of headaches. I used to suffer lots of headaches. So literally at this point, anytime I feel sick, I just roll up my eyes and I start telling myself completely healthy, totally healthy, or whatever it is that I need to hear or tell myself. And usually the pain goes away. So I use it. In fact, right now I'm using it for a client for phantom limb pain. So I use it all the time. Yes. Yep.
Excellent. That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And Sarah, you've got your hand up. How do you use it? How do you use hypnosis to work with a specific part of your body?
I use it with my splenectomy, like after surgery, ITP. So I've done that before, unconsciously, like intuitively. And now after learning hypnotherapy and practicing, so I use it on whenever I need it, just to release any tension, any challenges, any growth that's normal, and the doctors want to proceed and send you to procedure. And I say, I get my results and see you in 6 months, and then we'll see what happens. And then I go there and nothing absolutely is required to be done. So, and I use it with my clients, specifically teenagers or youth, where they are going through some body pain or challenges where they are absolutely healthy. There's nothing absolutely wrong with them. So yeah, it works magic.
I love your experience and how you're using it. Good work, good work. And Luha, how about you?
Yeah, I actually didn't realize that it was hypnosis. I was doing unconsciously, and as I did mention, I was a kind of resist to hypnosis. And then until when I learned about that, and I heard people talk about that, especially when I read about this hypnosis conference, I thought, wow, it must be something that I had not been aware of that. So I started looking into that again. Then I realized that I have been using quite a lot, but I didn't realize, I was not aware of that. So that was in my case now.
Very good. Thank you for sharing. You know, something came to my mind just now, and that is, and this is if it's okay with everyone, of course, imagine if we could share all the different ways that we are using hypnosis with our bodies and with our clients in the area of wellness. I think we would have an incredible document that we could then circulate to all the members. What do you think? Is that something useful? Yep. Yep. Thank you for the nodding. Fantastic. is it okay if I share with you how I came to meet hypnosis, or I should say how hypnosis met me? Is that all right if I share that with you? Because the funny thing is, and what Mark didn't say to you earlier on, is that when I was 11 years old, I declared to the world that I was going to be a scientist. Yeah, I was 11 years old, growing up on a farm. And I said to the world, I'm going to be a scientist. And I still love science. It's how I use the science in the area in which I work that is these days more exciting for me. And so many, many years ago, when I was a little girl, my grandmother, or I refer to her as my yaya, came from Greece to stay with us for a short time. And my yaya, I looked up to her. She was my role model. She was a very quiet woman, quite strategic with what she would say in the family. And the funny thing about my yaya was that anytime anyone had a stomach ache or a headache or anything like that, she would say, come and sit in the chair. Come and sit in this chair. And in a very short time, you're going to feel so much better. And of course, the moment my grandmother would say that to me, I thought, I'm going to go and sit into that chair. And she would tell me stories. I never really knew what the purpose of these stories were, except I felt really good afterwards. And I would say, can you tell me more stories? Not today, another time. So another time might come and I'd hear more stories. And it wasn't long before I realized, actually was using some form of trance through stories. So that was when I was really, really little. And growing up, my yaya stayed with us for a little while, went back to Greece, came back again some years later, and she continued with her stories. She used to write stories to me in Greek. I used to think that was just a way that she would just test my ability to read her writing and read Greek. So I thought, nice one, yaya. I really like your style. Many years passed, and I used to think to myself, my yaya had all these solutions and they were always through her stories. I want to explore that some more. And indeed, that's exactly what I did. I was drawn to meditation in my teenage years. I was drawn to other forms of relaxation. And what could I do with my mind? What could I do with my mind? And it wasn't really until I was much older, reading lots of books on hypnosis and going to different conventions on meditation and relaxation. And yes, indeed, my husband put a book like this under my nose and he said, read this book, Gina. And I thought, I don't have time to read another book. I've got 3 books that I'm already reading. And yet I thought to myself, let me read some more. You see, for me, reading is a form of learning, and I'm sure it is for you too. So growing up, I was drawn to meditation. I was drawn to hypnosis. And then I found out about the pendulum. And what could I do with this little swinging crystal was remarkable. But how did I actually use it? Now, today, we're really here to talk about Elman. And Elman is one of those hypnotherapists. When I found out more about how he developed the inductions that he developed, I was fascinated. I also love Ericksonian hypnosis and Esther Brooks. I mean, all of them. I love them all. But what was it really about Elman? Who here has worked with the Elman induction? Who has? A few people have worked with Elman. Okay, good. So I'm going to share my screen and show you just a little presentation that I have put together for today. So that's just a little bit about me. So here is Elman. And there you see him in his little pinstriped suit. And there he is with a woman, obviously doing an induction there. Now, Elman was born in the US in the state of North Dakota, I think something like over 124 years ago. Imagine that, over 124 years ago. And yet here he is, still influencing what we do with hypnosis. And for me, you know, I was very fascinated by how this man grew hypnosis and how did hypnosis become so interesting to physicians, doctors, dentists, to the point where they wanted him to run workshops with them. I thought, wow, this is really quite fascinating work that this man has developed. Now, if I can ask, if you've got your sound on, if you can just mute yourself, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you. So he developed a course on hypnosis for physicians and dentists. And of course, things grew from there. And from my point of view, I found that his induction was very useful in the area of wellness. In particular, running retreats using Elman was very good and has been very good. But I've also used Elman with my business clients, and they love it because it's a rapid induction and it works really, really well. I recommend, if you have not come across the Elman induction before, go and do some research and find out more about the induction itself, how it's been structured, and its applications. Very useful. Now, what sets Elman apart from the other inductions that I have studied? There are 6 stages. Now, these 6 stages are important because what happens is that very quickly you can establish eyelid closure. The client will relax their eyes. The relaxation will go down through their body. You will do fractionation, which will deepen your client through open, close eyes a number of times. You can test the relaxation. At this point, the client is physically relaxed, and then you move into mental relaxation. And here we have got number block as an example, and we also have amnesia. Now, if you're looking for a really good book to use, find out more about hypnosis, Elman in particular, I recommend this book. And it's called Hypnosis. There it is. If I hold it next to me, it might be easier to see. I'll put it into the chat anyway. This book is called Hypnosis, A Comprehensive Guide, and it's producing deep trance phenomena. And it was written by the late Dr. Tad James, Lorraine Flores, and Jack Schober. I love this book. So easy to read. Everything is stepped out exactly how you would work with Elman, for an example. Now, the beauty of the Elman induction is, yes, it's fast. Yes, we can say the client will go into a deep trance. But very early on, what happens is that with this induction, there is a dissociation that happens between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. And so what can happen is that the hypnotherapist can start speaking to the unconscious mind very early on, which is fantastic and exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't want to sit there and go through a number of steps in an induction to help my client go into deep trance. So the other thing I like about Elman is that it gives the client the responsibility. It's the client's responsibility to close their eyes. It's the client's responsibility to relax. And indeed, what happens is that all the large muscle groups relax. And so for me, working with people who wanted to target particular parts of their body, I wanted to make sure that they were in deep trance. Very, very important. So these are the main reasons why I really like the Elman induction. Very useful for me. Now, I want to tell you how I used Elman in the area of working with 3 case studies. I have many case studies, but I just wanted to draw your attention to 3. Now, the first one, let me tell you a little bit about this first one. The patient had a significant injury to their right arm, wrist, and hand. And the injury was quite serious that within 24 hours, the patient was in advanced care in hospital. And the lower arm and wrist and hand had swollen to the size of a balloon. Imagine that. And the patient was in a lot of pain. So what happened? The emergency doctors and the advanced medical team immediately inserted cannula into the patient's left arm, pumped 3 different antibiotics into her. Then what happened day 2 in hospital, they went up to her and they had a conversation with her 3 doctors and said, listen, for us to save your life, we are considering talking with you about amputating the arm. And the patient said to them, that's not going to happen. So then they introduced a 4th antibiotic. And they said this 4th antibiotic is going to help more, but we think we need to put a PICC line into your heart to directly pump the antibiotic so that it goes into your bloodstream more quickly. You see, by day 2, the patient had begun the early stages of sepsis, which is blood poisoning. And the other reason they wanted to use a PICC line was because the patient's veins, the blood vessels in her left arm in particular, the only one that they could work with, had constricted. And so they couldn't quite get the cannula needle into the arm, into the vein to deliver the antibiotics. And so to the PICC line, patient said no, because of her concern with respect to possible issues with the heart. Now, the patient requested a family member who was master hypnotherapist to come and work with her and said, I want to be able to work with hypnosis to help with the managing the infection and also help the veins in the arm to relax, the point where the cannula can be inserted and changed every day so that the antibiotics could flow around the body easily. And so what was important for her and for the hypnotherapist was that she could go into a deep trance quickly to alleviate to ensure that relaxation was happening. And also there were suggestions that were going to be used with the Elman induction to help the patient to recover from this shock that she was experiencing. So the suggestions that were used were very directed. So the patient went into a deep trance with Elman, and then a series of suggestions were used targeting specific areas that were of concern to the patient. I'll tell you more about those in a moment. Following this, the patient worked with the hypnotherapist on timeline therapy to remove major negative emotions, particularly fear about recovery, any limiting beliefs about recovery as well. So let me share with you some of the suggestions that were used, and I've got them written down here because they were very useful. One of them was, have your unconscious mind relax the blood vessels in your body so that the blood flows easily and safely throughout the body, heal the wound in the right arm safely. And every time during this hospital stay, have your unconscious mind relax the muscles and the veins and arteries in your left arm safely and easily whenever the cannula has to be changed. This is just generic here to give you the picture of what actually was said. The other one was work with the unconscious mind to talk with her immune system to safely and healthily reduce the infection so that the immune response can work quickly, safely, and healthily to address the infection that was in the blood. Now, we wanted to reduce the infection level in the blood down to below 3 milligrams per litre. Now, so that you know, just some basic facts here. Anything over 500 milligrams, so in the blood, looking for inflammation, the marker is a CPR test, and it measures levels of inflammation. If the test comes back with over 500 milligrams per litre in the blood of inflammation, then we know that the patient is most likely in sepsis. Now, the patient was 525 milligrams per litre, so definitely the patient was in sepsis. So using the hypnotic suggestion with Elman, the focus was on reducing the inflammation down to below 3 milligrams per litre. Over a period of time was safe for the body. We also worked with the unconscious mind to talk directly with the wound. Now here, visual imagery was used, explaining exactly where the wound was, the layers of the skin going right down into the tissue below, down into the tendons. Everything was described so that the patient could visualize very healthy tissue, very healthy tendons that were recovered, and healthy skin. So again, this was a suggestion that was used with the Elman induction. So with these suggestions that were done through using Elman daily and repeating the suggestions consistently and having a recording of it, the patient was able to go into a deep trance every time the cannula was going to be inserted, didn't feel a thing, and the antibiotics were able to flow through her body easily each and every time. Using the visual imagery, she was able to have a consistent picture in her head of the healing process that was happening at the wound site, which was very important. Funnily enough, the nurses were intrigued, and so were the doctors. Team of 3 specialists. What was going on here with this patient? They, in fact, had said to her, listen, if you survive this, you're going to be in hospital for several months because it takes that long for the body to recover from sepsis. Patient was simply going, delete, delete, delete. That was not going to apply to her at all. And definitely the use of timeline therapy to remove major negative emotions and any limiting beliefs around recovery helped enormously. Now, I need to make sure that there's a disclaimer here. I'm providing no medical advice. I'm not a doctor. This is for educational purposes only. In this example, it worked really, really well. Now, instead of being in hospital for 2 months, this particular patient left the hospital after 10 days. No PICC line, no IV, continued just with oral treatment. for another 6 weeks. And her hand and her wrist and her arm fully recovered. And that again came back to the use of Elman induction with more suggestions and further timeline therapy. Now, where is the person today? Well, the person who survived this is me. So I know very, very clearly how Elman can be used with suggestions that are very directed, working with the unconscious mind. And it works brilliantly. So let me move on to the next case study. And by the way, let me tell you that as part of the visual imagery, these little cells in your blood called phagocytes, or I call them the munchers, were working in my blood to go around and munch up the infection. So this is exactly the image that I had of these munchers going around inside my blood, and they were just doing a great job. I need to share. Case study 2 was a woman with dysphagia. Now, dysphagia is difficulty swallowing. She had had a stroke. The problem with this woman was she had been working with a speech therapist for several days, was getting very frustrated because the speech therapist was trying to work with her muscles around her neck, getting her to do chewing actions and so on. And the patient was getting really anxious to the point where she was hypervigilant every time the speech therapist would come in. And so the patient asked me for help. And she said, can you please work with me so that I can swallow my food? I want to get better. So what we did was we wanted to focus on reducing the anxiety and do it quickly because, as I said before, one of the issues is, in fact, anxiety with people who have had stroke and they're wanting to eat. We wanted to move her away from being hypervigilant about eating and focus on the ease of eating. And because she was in medical care, I had to work with the speech therapist. I had to get approval from the doctors that I could use hypnosis with this person to alleviate the dysphagia so she could actually eat her food. So let me tell you what happened. I worked with this woman and we achieved enormous success. And I thought to myself, because I like to research, I said to myself, I'm going to go and find out what the medical journals say about dysphagia and hypnosis. You have my science background, couldn't help myself, right? So I discovered some great material, and one which I will put in the chat and share with you later. It was actually published in the American Journal of Clinical Hypnotherapy in June 2015. And the title of the article is Hypnotherapy for Esophageal Disorders, as in disorders of the esophagus, the food pipe, some people call it. And I read this and I thought, oh my goodness, this is fantastic. They're actually saying how you can alleviate the problem with swallowing using hypnosis. So I spoke with the woman and I said, what is it that you really want to achieve? And what pictures do you have of this eating process? And where does the food go? And so we sat down and we developed a visual image of her eating the food, soft food, her tongue working, push the food down into her esophagus, and the food going all the way down into her stomach. And it was phenomenal because this progressive induction that we have with Elman worked marvelously. She relaxed within 1 minute. Her whole body, you could see her whole body relax very quickly. And that meant that I also saw her breathing change. I could see the just on the side of her neck. I could see changes in her pulse. Everything began to slow down, whereas before it was very fast. And she was breathing rapidly as well. So her breathing really settled too. So once she was in that deep trance, which didn't take long, by the way, I then used the suggestions we had developed. I added a lot more detail to them. And I used the suggestions which really focused on her swallowing her food safely, the food going into her esophagus easily, safely, and working its way down into her stomach gently and all the way down into her stomach completely. And that she would feel satisfied and happy, comfortable with the fact that she had eaten a meal which she really wanted to do. And so we said in this specific suggestion that what she needed to do was trust her body and work with her unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind did an incredible job, I have to say. Now, on emerging, so the first time that this was done, she was relaxed. Her breathing was at a good rate. Everything was rhythmic. Her pulse, her blood pressure, everything was working in a much more manageable state than what it was before. When she was emerged from the trance, first thing she said was, "I want a plate of food, please." I had already contacted the kitchen where she was in the medical center, and I said, "Listen, can you prepare a plate of soft food? Put it on the most beautiful big white plate that you have. And these are the colors," because I had already found out from her which food types she really enjoyed. And they also made a milk drink for her. I took it to her and I said, "You asked for food, here it is." She sat there in her hospital bed and ate the whole thing. The speech therapist is sitting next to me watching all this. And she said, "Can this be done with other patients who have dysphagia?" I said, "Yeah, sure." We did this 5 days in a row. I recorded it. And every time it was mealtime, she was able to eat. Continued the work with the speech therapist. So I thought to myself, this is remarkable. Who am I going to share this with? So I did share it with people who had relatives who had dysphagia, but I said, "Listen, you need to get medical referrals first, because this cannot be used except under the approval of a medical doctor." And I know another person who suffered from dysphagia, and it was the lady that I was mentioning before, following on from Billy's presentation, who in 1997, they used a music therapy to help her. And then she actually did go through and work with a hypnotherapist back then to help her with her swallowing. It was quite interesting. Now, here's the structure of swallowing. This is actually the diagram. I didn't use the words. Here is the diagram. As you can see, it just shows where the mouth is and where the sphincter is that helps push the food down the esophagus all the way down into the stomach. And the patient said, "Oh, this is fantastic. I can visualize this, and I can visualize the food going down into my stomach." Brilliant. Fantastic. So that's that particular case study. Now, here's the third one. This one was really interesting. This man had a staph infection following spine surgery, and he was experiencing high-level stress. And I had read before 2020 that hypnosis could be used to reduce mental stress in severely stressed patients in hospitals recovering from surgical procedures. Now, this particular patient was experiencing high mental stress. And so they were not recovering well, and they were having bouts of being unconscious. And they said, I need help so that I can survive. So I had to seek medical approval from the the specialist and from the nursing staff that I could do this. And interestingly enough, one of the specialists looking after him would say to me afterwards, now, what you did with this person helped save their life. And he actually wanted to find out more about how hypnosis can be used to improve the immune system response. So there you have it. Now, the paper that I read, again from a medical journal, this time it was the Journal of Clinical Psychology and Psychotherapy, and it was all about the effects of a single relaxation hypnosis session on mental stress. Now, time was critical for this person. They were experiencing high-level stress. They were not eating, they couldn't eat, in and out of unconscious state. Heart rate, blood pressure was really high. And with one hypnosis session, their heart rate and blood pressure improved to the point where the medical team were able then to follow on with a treatment protocol to address the staph infection, because this person, unfortunately, had become septic by this. They had developed sepsis by this stage, and they were very sick. So I had to work very quickly. So what did I do? In that single session, I focused the suggestions on visual imagery to assist the patient in seeing themselves walking along the beach with beautiful rolling waves that they could hear just gently in the ocean, coming from the ocean to the beach, onto the beach, and the feeling of the warm sand of their feet, the feeling of the warm sunshine, having a glow of health throughout, and also working the unconscious mind, working with the antibiotics and the immune system to help the person to reduce the infection in the body. So there were a lot of suggestions that were used here. In addition to all that, I played a chant, and it's called Moe Ohani, to help with healing. And this chant was being played consistently after the hypnosis session, that very first one, consistently throughout a whole day. So the Elman induction rapidly helped this person relax. The visual imagery worked together with the chant, going on what Billy was saying before about music, and of course the antibiotics working together with the body's immune system. And slowly over a period of time, this person recovered. Now, this man was told that considering the extent of sepsis and how sick they were, and they had to go back and have a second surgery, he was told that he'd be in hospital for maybe 3 months to recover. The doctors got it wrong. He was actually home just under a month, and he made a full recovery. Following on, as this man began to build strength again, we worked with timeline therapy, and that was specifically to ensure that to eliminate the major negative emotions related to this, and also limiting decisions or limiting beliefs around recovery, safely recovering and survival. So that's case study number 3. Here's some useful resources. This first one was published in 2002, and it's a review of the impact of hypnosis relaxation, guided imagery, and individual differences on aspects of immunity and health in the Journal of Stress. Yes, this was 2002, and this science journal, Journal of Stress. And in there, I read, in 2 studies, hypnosis buffered the effects of stress on immune functions. So again, I did a lot of research before I did hypnosis using Elman with that particular person. Another book, if you're really into mental imagery, is Ancient Times. Guided imagery has been reported to have effects on bodily processes, especially on the person's capacity to overcome disease and infection. in modern times, there have been clinical confirmations that this relationship applies to all bodily systems, including the immune system. So if you're really interested in using Elman induction, mental imagery in the suggestions, I encourage you to go and do your research as well. You'll be surprised what you find. There is a lot that has been published around the benefits of hypnosis in healing, particularly working with the immune system. So let me give you a summary. Elman is fast, progressive, and useful in many, many contexts. Yes, in this presentation, I've talked about medical context or the health context, but I've used it in working in business quite successfully with business owners in particular. The key is the conscious-unconscious dissociation, which causes trance to develop rapidly. And I really like how this works. I like the Elman induction because of the 6 steps. It's a fast way to achieve mental and physical relaxation. I've used it with success in many wellness cases over the years, and it works effectively each and every time. And I encourage you to structure the suggestions carefully. What is it that you are saying? Work on the suggestions together with your client, because their language is going to mean a lot to them. It'll make an enormous difference. Now, yesterday, Christina talked to us about the importance of language. And when you structure suggestions, I encourage you to make sure that those suggestions are very meaningful to your client, because you're talking to their unconscious mind. Very, very important. So that's my summary. But I forgot to say that growing up, I had been drawn to a lot of different meditation styles and yoga and hypnosis and the use of the pendulum with that little crystal. That little crystal and the use of the pendulum is extraordinarily powerful, and so are suggestions. You see, and I know June said this, and I know everyone else has said this as well. But what I want to say is I encourage you all to continue learning. Don't ever stop, because in learning, you will keep growing. And as you keep growing, you're growing your mind. You are going to serve not only yourself, but you're going to serve the world. It is people like you who are here now, who are doing great work out there in your communities. And in order to constantly be ahead of where you are now, you need to keep learning. And this is the right place, the right time for you to be doing this. That's why you're here. You know this is the right time and the right place for you. So keep learning, because it is only when you enrich your mind and body and your soul that you can help others to enrich their minds, bodies, and souls. So keep learning. I encourage you to stay connected, reach out to Candice, find out what other trainings you can do to advance your knowledge and your skill, and keep applying, and stay connected. Form communities. Share with Candice what it is that you do. We really want to know. We want to encourage you to keep growing. You've got so much from this conference so far, from every speaker that's shared something with you. Reach out to Candice. Hey, Candice, what else is there? What can I do? She is a wealth of information. Candice has been around in NLP world, timeline therapy, and hypnosis a long, long time. Now, I do have a little gift for those of you who are interested. You can DM me if I am on WhatsApp, and I'm also on Telegram. And it's a little PDF on the 3 easy ways in which you can use Elman Hypnosis with business owners. So if you're keen to find out more, please let me know, because I like the business owners that work with me. I like them to relax, focus, take action, and achieve the great results that they want to achieve. So thank you very much, everyone. I decided to keep my presentation short so that if there are any questions of all of us while we're here, Candace, Sophie, Mark, and I think there are others in here who've been presenting. Billy's still there. Ask your questions. We really want to support you to grow and learn. Thank you so much, everyone. Back to you, Candace and Mark. Any questions, by the way? And who'd like to share what they learned? I'd love to hear from you.
I
Go
would,
for it,
Gina.
Nita.
I'd like to tell you.
Thank you so much,
as
Gina.
much-
That was so inspirational. Just really lovely hearing from you. And wow, I just want to know that you named that one Crystal. I didn't get the name properly. I don't know about that, so I would like to learn more about it as well. And secondly, where can we DM you if you can share your number? I would like to get that the writer that you were sharing.
Sure, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Thank you so much. That's really good. Yeah. The crystal, of course, I'm talking about in the pendulum. Mine was a quartz.
Oh, pendulum.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you. Any other questions? I mean, what interests you about Elman induction? What interests you about working with the body? I'd love to know.
What's interesting is no matter what the technique that you're using, as long as you're entering the state of trance, miracles happen there. That's it. So it's not about the tool, it's about the state. So yeah, I like the case studies. Thank you. It was so insightful.
Thank you, Rolla. Thank you very much. Yes, and you're right. You know, when you're working with your clients, remember, they are the best clients in the world, okay? They are the best clients in the world, and they will actualize what you believe to be true. So remember that when you're working with them, okay? And that's another reason why I encourage people to keep learning and growing. Imagine what you can take back to your clients, to your students, those of you who are trainers of hypnosis. Imagine what you can take back to them just from this community alone and from your further learnings. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone else? Anything else? Ruth.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much. Very insightful. Just regarding your very own case study, your first one, was it self-hypnosis or did you actually were you hypnotized by another hypnotherapist? Because you mentioned...
Yeah, good question. So, yeah, I was hypnotized. Okay. I wasn't really I think my body was in shock and I wanted to stay alert. So I was working closely with my unconscious mind from the moment the injury happened until I went to hospital. I was working closely with my unconscious mind. I knew exactly what my goal was, and that was to heal. And then after probably 3 sessions, I worked then with self-hypnosis. I did have a recording from the hypnotherapist that I played, and I had actually said to the nurses, please give me half an hour before you come in to change the cannula. And the nurse that was looking after me said, why half an hour, Gina? And I said, well, I need to relax before you come in and do anything with that cannula. And they said, well, how are you going to do that? And I said, come and watch. So they came and watched me do self-hypnosis, and they said they would change the cannula, and they said I never moved. I never flinched, nothing. And it was the best thing because it speeded up my recovery. So yes, at first it was using Elman, and then after that, it was self-hypnosis. And I use self-hypnosis all the time. So when we travel long distance on a plane, I go to sleep. Traveling from here to England, for example, from East Coast Australia to England, long flight. I knock myself out with self-hypnosis. I have 2 8-hour sleeps. I arrive refreshed. It's really good. I love it. Good. Thank you for asking that one. Marissa.
Hi, Miss Gina. Thank you for sharing. I really learned a lot from you. So, Miss Gina, I'd like to ask, because I have this client. We've been doing this session for I think I've met her 5 times already, and she's really this she has a lot of baggages, and imagine. For the timeline therapy, it took us 1 to 2 hours just for one, just for anger, then another meeting again for fear, because for sadness, like that. So she's really she's like imprisoned, and it's like a stone already in her mind, but she's really willing to change. And now, and every time I'm doing that, because she requested me to do the hypnotherapy, and I'm doing the Elman because she's in a lot of pain. She has autoimmune disease, and being a cancer patient, she's recovering, but she's really into a lot of pain. And she told me that whenever I do the hypnotherapy on her, she felt relaxed. But Miss Gina, this is my question. Whenever I do that, because the Elman is so slow and deep, sometimes I was so carried away. I'm also felt sleepy. So what should I need to do? Thank you so much.
I love it. Guess what, everyone? You, the hypnotherapist, how can you not be in rapport with your client? How can you not be in trance? I don't know about anyone else, but every time I do hypnosis with a client, I'm in trance every single time. And I talk to my unconscious mind before I do a hypnosis session with my clients. I go, wonderful unconscious mind. Now, I know that we're about to do a session with a client, and I know that I'm going to go into trance. But what I want you to do is to make sure that I stay in an awake trance. Okay? And I also have a conversation with my conscious mind too, because I like to talk to my minds. All right. Don't go report that to anyone. But I do like to talk to my minds. And, I said, let's have an arrangement here if that's all right. But I would like to be in an awake light trance. So I have this agreement each and every time I do hypnosis with my clients. And it works really well. Yeah. Practice it. Let us know, Marissa, how you go. Let Candice know, and then she can let us all know. Or post it. Listen, get into Facebook, get into the American Board of Hypnosis Facebook page. Post in there how you go, and everyone can find out.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Miss Gina.
My pleasure. Good ones. Thank you. Sarah.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was very insightful. And I love the fact that you use the images. So what I do is I use guidance through the body parts, but I believe using the image for the client to strengthen their visualizations helped a lot, because this is what I did personally with my platelets. So I used to imagine them that day by day my blood test is going up and the platelets are rising and I'm recovering from my splenectomy. Whereas the doctor wanted to put me back on cortisone because it didn't work. The surgery was not successful. So I love that visualization with the images on the body part. It helps a lot. And with Elman, I use it a lot. Some clients are challenging when they reach the numbers. At the beginning, I used to be very patient, and then they could reach really 60, 70, 80, and then, the other way around. But going back to Elman, what I like about it that you can improvise a lot with it, knowing the steps. You don't really need the script in front of you. It's just like you follow the steps, and then based on your client and knowing them, you can create their own script with the steps in order to relax them more and more. And a lot of them, they like them, the fuzziness, the warmth, the sunlight, the sunshine, all of this beautiful warmth feeling that relaxes them more and more. And the more I use their own preference in terms of whatever natural scenes that they like and it relaxes them, it's so powerful that it is anchored with them after the session. So I use it also with the anchoring after the session. So yeah, thank you so much for this. This is amazing. Looking forward for the gift as well.
Ah, thank you, Sarah. I love what you're just saying about the imagery. Absolutely. They will remember it afterwards. Love it. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I'm going to pass back to Mark and Candace. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gina. Oh, did she leave?
No, I'm here. But question, we're going into a break soon, aren't we, Mark and Candace?
Yes, Mark is getting ready. So
Okay, Mark's getting ready.
come on
Okay.
here.
So what I was going to say is this. What if you all were able to get into the Facebook page while we're still all together and put in there your questions or your ideas about how you think we could share more about hypnosis case studies or hypnosis NLP timeline therapy case studies. Let us know what specifically you'd like to know more about timeline therapy. If you haven't engaged with it yet, it is remarkable. What webinars would you like us to run? Because Candace, together with the advisory council, really want to start to deliver more webinars that you really want. So please get into that Facebook page. There's nearly 800 members in there. If we all go in and say, we'd like webinars on X, we want to find out more about how you work with hypnosis with children who bedwet or something like that. We'd like more about hypnosis and healing. We want to find out more about music therapy, like what Billy was saying before. Go in and ask in that Facebook page, because that's how we will be able to follow up on what it is that you want, you really want. Sarah.
I'm going to find the Facebook page. I didn't.
Good on you. Good on you. Yeah. So far in this conference, I'm curious to know, because I'm always curious, what is it that, what are the 3 things you've really learned that you are going to take away with you so far? I mean, we've still got Mark, which will be fascinating, and then we've got Adriana. So far, what is it that you're going to take away? Please jump in and share. Love to hear.
For me,
yeah.
Can you hear me? I'm not muted, am I? For me, I have many years of experience and learnings, but boy, this was full of information and reminders. Just for me personally, I may know a lot of this, but to hear it from the speakers, their style of teaching or the examples they put it in, it was amazing, Gina. I just feel like I sat in a 2 weeks master practitioner course. It was full of useful information. I mean, besides staying up from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., you know, I drove home from the office, get 6:30, the sun is up. I'm exhausted, but you know what? I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was so much useful information. I don't know about for the rest of you, but I basically got a free 2-day training for, for those of you guys under $100. Amazing stuff. I'm a little tired, but yeah.
Candice, thank you for putting this together, and to all the advisory members in the board and every speaker that's participated in this. To Adriana, to Mark, thank you.
Yeah, I echo everything Billy was saying. And Candace, you're right. I'm sitting there yesterday and today thinking, all right, how many conferences have I been to where I can I've been taking notes, right? How many conferences have I been to where I can go away after 2 days and say, I learned all these things that I can implement immediately? There haven't been many. And I've been to conferences all over the world, by the way. So, you know, it's because of these amazing presenters and how all this was put together. And so the work now has to be carried on by everyone here. And we need to hear from you so that we can deliver more. Absolutely. Naida, over to
Gina,
you.
your sharing alone was mind-blowing. Thank you very much.
Oh, Billy, thank you so much. Thank you. Very kind. Thank you. Naida, over to
For
you.
all of you people who have attended so many conferences and done so much training, for me, it was my first conference. And I'm like, I just kept going, wow, wow, wow. There's so much to learn. But the one thing that I would say that really, really stuck out was the sense of community. Thank you so much. You're all like so supportive. Everybody wants to help each other. They want to like, so that sense, because when you choose hypnotherapy as opposed to doing any other course for earning only, if you would say, it comes from an intention. It comes from like it was mentioned yesterday, like you're agents of change. It comes from an intention, from a purpose. And to have other people support you in that sense of community, it was just so heartwarming, so wholesome. And I love that part about it also. Of course, the information and all of that aside, just having you all share so openly, give so freely, be so generous, that was amazing for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely agree, Naida. Absolutely agree. That sense of community is what's going to drive the support forward. Okay, because as we all work together, we're not just helping each other, we're helping each and every person we work with. And that's across the world. So you ask yourself, what's that going to do for our world? What's going to do for humanity when we do things like this? Yeah. It's extremely powerful and at the same time remarkable. You are all responsible for this, everyone. Each and every one of you, you're responsible for this. Yeah, Marissa's just nodding. Absolutely. Yeah. Sarah, you were going to say something before. What was that?
I think I had the raised hand by mistake still on, but I would, since you asked me to speak, thank you so much. As Nida said, this is very beautiful sense of community. Everyone is giving from the heart, so much information. Even if it is, you know, for practicing, it might be repetitive, but it's always a good reminder to see and validate as well that you are on the right track and using, you know, your best knowledge and experience and your talents in the right way, helping others. And for me, this is what keeps me going. And this is how I selected to continue with this path. Is I had my first practice with one lady, and she turned out to be my first client with a package of 10 sessions, healing her OCD, along with that, her relationship with her daughters. And now she is even a healer, a therapist herself, and like she's doing amazing. And this is what I like about what I do is I don't want people to come back to me. It's just like one session might be very sufficient for them to connect to their inner power and then do the work on their own, because we know that we are doing the work. We are just the tools, right? So just guiding them to connect to their inner power. And this is what keeps me going. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Well said. Well said. Thank you so much. Now, in the room, we've also got Coach B. I just want to talk about community and Coach B, if that's all right with Coach B. I met B, when was that, B? 3 years ago at Masterprac, right? Yeah. And there was this vivacious, energetic woman with incredible ideas and not afraid to ask questions, not afraid to challenge, right? And I've watched her do presentations since then and grow an incredible community in an area that is experiencing a lot of challenge. And so I'm going to ask B, from your point of view, in this 2-day conference, what are you going to take back to your community that's going to make a difference?
Well, first of all, it's the mindset of growth, because they always ask me, why do you need to spend more time learning with everything that you have already learned? And I always remember a sentence that Adriana and Ted used to say, premature closure is worse than premature something else. So it's always about keeping a mindset for learning, not assuming that I know, because the minute I assume that I know, my mind is already closed. So even if I hear information that I already know, I never know enough. So because from every 11 million bits of information, I take 126. So every time I hear it, I'm taking a different 126 bits of information because of my new state and because I already know the previous one. So I'm learning something new. And the fact that we are sharing learning and experience from people from different areas of the world. So, and since in NLP, we always say that if anyone can do it, then I can do it. So any problem I have, somebody else faced it and found the solution. So it's always good to look at anything from different cultures and different perspectives and different everything. And for the first time, the class is not at 1 a.m., it's at 6 a.m. So I'm so happy. So today I was able to sleep.
Oh, good on you. I'm so happy to hear. By the way, what people don't know is that it doesn't matter what time of the day, whether it's 1 a.m. or 10 p.m. or 6 a.m., if there's a webinar or anything going, B will be there. You know, B's one of these people, and this is probably like all of you here right now. You're doing what it takes, right, to make a difference. And that tells me you're leaders in your field. So well done to you.
Well, actually,
Absolutely.
we are modeling excellence. Remember when Adriana always said, what does it take to be a good trainer? All what you've got and some more. So
yes,
it's not for the weak-hearted.
Definitely not. I think everyone in this room has been through some form of change over time, and you're looking forward to more, because I can imagine that your purpose is around growing, evolving, and helping everyone that comes along in that journey. So yeah, absolutely, absolutely, really good to hear all that. Now, Ravi, how are you going? What have you learned in this conference so far?
Many things, of course, Gina. This has been really, absolutely exciting. So yeah, it's a lot of things are like, old wine with new bottles, but then these are not just old wine. So this has been really phenomenal. I think the previous speakers have said it, that the way you are so generously and open-heartedly sharing all the information and knowledge. So, Coach B eloquently put that it's all about modeling excellence. And I think these kind of platforms, especially these conferences where we get to hear from the stalwarts like you, it's really phenomenal. I'm quite speechless.
Yeah. I hope when you were talking about the wine and the bottles, I think I'd like to think of myself as an old Shiraz or something like that, like a really old mellowed red wine or something like that in a nicely shaped bottle, of course. Thank you for sharing, Ravi. I really appreciate that insight that you've just shared with us. Thank you so much. Dylan, I haven't heard from you. What have you learned so much that you're going to be taking away?
Hi, Gina. I only come by only today because actually yesterday I have an exam, but I would like to hear all the replays again. But today's is really an eye opener. This is the first time I joined. I was introduced by Billy, and I know that there's a lot of top speakers here. So this is a platform that I can learn from all the learnings I have, because I was taught NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnotherapy. This is the best, I would say this is one of the best platform, because I get to learn from different countries, from different fields, and some of them are also clinical hypnosis and practitioner. So from there, I get to benchmark, know that what are the best technique I can learn from them. And I will say that thank you very much for the opportunity for me to come here and listen to everyone.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank you for sharing, and thank you to Billy for introducing you to all of this. All right, so all the people that have been touched by someone in this room, just imagine that. Quite remarkable. So I'm wondering, is Mark going to be starting soon, or am I got my times wrong? Sophie.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I want more things to,
Yes,
sorry.
Dylan, over to you.
Just to add on, I forgot to say something is that, I mean, for this training, I just put forth the effort because beginning I was doing a practitioner, but now because of all these learnings and my interest, I put forth all the investment to be a trainer, and I hope I got certified. So I really want to make a stand, like in future I can be one of the trainer, and then I may have the opportunity to come up to speak.
That would be fantastic. Look forward to it, Dylan. Now that you've said it, it's out in the universe, so it's going to happen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.